everyone, I'm MaryAnn. I'm a voice coach and visual artist from Singapore, currently in Singapore, and welcome to another installment of my vlog series, Find Your Voice. So this is where I share what I've learned in my singing journey so far as a singer, as a voice coach, as a singing instructor, in the hopes of clearing up some of the misconceptions around singing, maybe give you a better sense of what this journey is really all about in self-expression and in the voice and what the voice is really all about. And ultimately, I believe that even the way we live our lives is really an expression of who we are and what really matters to us and what is it that we really want to leave behind when it's our time to move on to another life or another place, whatever you believe in. And so I think that, our physical voice is something that is really intricately tied to who we are as a person. And so is our capital V voice, which is what is it that you really want to express over the course of your life. And I think that these two are really intertwined. So today's video, I want to share about why singing is really the most effective way of working on improving your voice and your self-expression, and ultimately even getting connected to that capital V voice, and what is it that you would like to express over the course of your life. So I've had clients who come to me and they want to work on their voice and they want to work on their self-expression, and they are quite clear a lot of times of what is the issue in your voice. Like, for one client, he said that he sounded really monotonous. Another client mentioned that she tends to talk too quickly. And someone else also mentioned he wanted to have more power and depth in his voice. And none of them actually mentioned wanting to learn singing. They mentioned the specific issues in their voice. And so when I told them that, well, the way I do it is working on singing, they usually say that they wouldn't mind, but there is a little bit of a hesitation around that. And so I wanted to make this video today to clear up some of these questions that you may have around how singing is actually better than just speaking in terms of developing your voice. So the first reason why singing is far more effective is because when we speak, we are only using a very limited part of our entire vocal range. So our vocal range consists of, many notes. For those of you who know a bit of musical knowledge, usually most people, their vocal range is from like 1.5 to 2.5 octaves, more or less, that kind of range. That's what's considered normal in terms of an excess that we have. And of course, the more we hone our voice, the more we expand our vocal range, it becomes easier to reach much higher notes or much lower notes. And of course it also depends on your how you are that day, how's your physical body feeling that day, how's your voice feeling that day. Sometimes your range might shrink from day to day, and there's totally nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly normal. Okay, but what I want to share today is that when we speak, we only use a very limited part of our vocal range. And the speaking range of our voice usually coincides with what is comfortable also when we sing. So when we're only exercising that part of our voice, we kind of neglect, the notes that we can actually reach that are higher than our speaking range and lower than our speaking range. And so if you're only used to speaking within like 3 or 4 notes, so for example, my client who has a monotonous voice, he could only speak, his vocal range only had like 3 or 4 notes in it, and that's why there was a lot of monotony in his voice. And so by getting him to start to sing more notes outside of his normal way of speaking, his voice started to become more lively and more and less monotonous and more colorful, because now he was able to access notes that were outside of what he was used to. And so this is why singing is more effective than speaking, because you might be unconsciously speaking within a much limited set of notes than your voice can actually reach. And so I want to be able to get you to expand that and to try out different parts of your voice that you normally wouldn't use, and singing is really the best way to do that. Okay. The second reason why singing is far more effective is because when we speak, we're not exactly dragging out every single note. most of the time when we speak, it's very, you say the word and it's kind of dot, 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 like that's how people talk, right? But when we sing, we can drag things out. We can drag notes for longer, and we can say what we really want to say. So there's a lot more variety when it comes to singing versus speaking. And that allows you also to strengthen every single note, even the ones within your normal speaking range. So if you work on your voice and all you do is talking, you're not really strengthening these notes. And that's why people would still have voices that kind of sound weak, that may not have as much power in them, or they may find that maybe you are able to make your voice louder and more powerful with a speaking coach, but you may not be able to sustain it over a longer time. And singing is a way to really exercise every single note in your vocal range, not just the ones within your speaking range. And what you start to see is that because you have that exercise, the kind of dynamism in your voice would expand as well. That there will be times where you're able to drag out certain words, and there will be times that you can, take your time to say certain things, and there will be more variation in your tone and in your expression as a result. The third reason why singing is far more effective, this one has to do a lot with the psychological barriers around singing. So most people that are hesitant around singing, who are my clients, they would usually have some sort of embarrassment or anxiety or nervousness around having to sing. They could be really comfortable speaking in front of an audience. They might even do that for a living. But the moment you ask them to sing on their own in front of a group of people, it's like, nope, not going there. Like, I'm okay singing if everyone else sings too, but otherwise I'm not gonna be singing in front of anyone. So there's a lot of stigma and there's a lot of fear when it comes to singing and performing that is really different from speaking. So there are many things that could bring this about. One is that, maybe you didn't really have a music teacher who was very encouraging. Most elementary school music teachers, well, at least the ones in Singapore, they are usually not really passionate about music, and they're kind of like, the math or science teacher that have been tasked with the job of, teaching music to kids, and they are really not passionate about it. And so it's hard for children to also have passion for something if their teachers are not passionate about it. And then you might also have teachers who are strict, who are impatient. I have another client who was in the choir in her high school, but because her teacher was really strict and was always, pointing out her mistakes and how you're not singing the right notes, you're out of key again, she just stopped singing. She would just mouth the words even when she was in the choir. And I mean, you can get away with that when you're in a choir, I guess, but if you want to be a person who is able to stand in front of an audience and speak, and even if you're already able to do that, then it's really about how connected can you get with your audience and how confident are you really when you're standing in front of the stage, because it's not that difficult to have some PowerPoint slides and then you just kind of summarize the points that are on there, versus really speaking from your heart and really speaking from the passion that you have for the subject that you're teaching and presenting. So when it comes to singing, then there's also these emotional and psychological barriers that a person needs to get over in order to be able to sing comfortably. And these emotional barriers and psychological barriers a lot of times also stop us from being comfortable with who we are as a person. And therefore, even though we may think that, in terms of speaking, I have no issue expressing myself, you might not really be expressing the fullness of yourself or the fullness of the emotion that comes with what is it you really want to express and convey, or the passion that you have for a subject. And a lot of that is, you holding yourself back because you're not fully comfortable with your voice, maybe. Maybe you're not fully comfortable with being on stage, and the trainer persona or the, teacher persona that you have is not really you. It's just a facet of you, and it's not fully you. And because of that, maybe you might not be as engaging as you could be. So when we work on singing, when we use singing as a tool to improve your voice and expression, part of it is also pushing you out of that comfort zone and to get more connected with an authentic part of yourself, and to also confront some of these emotional and psychological barriers towards expression that you may not be aware of that is there within you. So these are 3 of the reasons why singing is a far more effective tool in improving your voice and your self-expression compared to just speaking. First of all, it's because it exercises a far more wider range of your voice than you normally would if you were just speaking. Secondly, because it strengthens every single note even within what is comfortable for you as the speaking range of your voice, so you can have more dynamism in your voice. And third, because there's a lot of emotional and psychological barriers around singing, and when you sing in front of me during these voice coaching sessions, well, mostly online, when you sing in front of me during these sessions is also a chance for you to break out of some of these fears and nerves and anxiety that you have around performance and around singing, and ultimately it's getting you to get more in touch with yourself, more connected with yourself, such that when you express yourself, whether you are speaking to someone you love, whether you are teaching, whether you are presenting a subject that you're really passionate about, then you are able to bring forth whatever emotions you have there, so you can become more authentic, and people, your audience, whoever they are more engaged, and they can really receive whatever it is that you're trying to share with them. So if you have enjoyed today's video, subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, or you can directly message me through any one of my social media links or email me. They're all in the write-up below, and I will see you next week.